I am back, and you are comfortably zoned with me, the Zigzag Man, Ralph Deco. In Alameda, California, we are at the 420 studio down by the lagoon, where it don't smell so good there, as Archie would say, and ask for a beer from Eat It. That was filmed in New York, and my guest, as am I, or we are, as am me, whatever. We are fellow New Yorkers originally, and Channin is a Bay Area musical icon and proponent and advocate of what my mother would have said, "Are you on that marijuana again? Are you on the marijuana?" Nice to have you to the microphone, darling.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
As well it should be, huh? This is the comfortably zoned radio that people are talking about all over the 420 studio, and I'm hoping it spreads a little bit. Welcome. This is your first time, and I like to get to know my guests a little bit, especially the ones who are involved in music. What did you grow up listening to? And when was it that you did grow up? You don't have to tell me exactly, but what era was it that you grew up?
I don't mind talking about my age, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I'm 78.
Ah.
And I remember when I was a little child, before television, that there was a radio on top of the refrigerator, and I heard these bands playing. And I thought that there were teeny little people inside the radio making the
midgets,
music.
if you will. Well, little people in today's day and age, but
musicians.
Yes, musicians. Yes, in the radio. That's a great imagination. And what else would people think? Yeah, as a little, what kids would think. Sure. And was it like Jimmy Dorsey? Was it Frank?
Well, I wasn't the one that was making the choices at that point in time. I was pretty young. It was big band. It was probably, whatever big bands were playing at that time. Okay. A lot of things that are considered old standards.
Who were some of your favorites when you were old enough to make the decisions? What would you put on the radio? And conversely, what would you push the button when it came on? What didn't you like?
What didn't I like on the radio?
Yeah, both. I want to know what you liked and what you didn't like.
That's a pretty interesting question. Well, I remember on Saturday listening to all of those radio programs, like The Shadow Knows and... I can't even.
Long Cassidy, Roy Rogers, the Racket Squad, I remember was on. I had a cousin who wrote for them, as a matter of fact.
Well, I remember Let's Pretend on Saturday mornings, and they had all of the various fairy tales that they would tell.
We're talking radio now.
What's that?
We're talking radio. This is pre-television. We're talking radio.
Yes.
Yeah, very cool. You grew up in a great era. I missed a lot. What did your dad do? Because you were born before the war. I'm guessing yes. Obviously, I just did the.
I was a young child. I mean, I don't remember all of the dates necessarily.
Okay.
I remember when World War II ended, and
all
the children lived, walked, formed a parade and marched around the neighborhood. I remember that.
Pretty cool. Good memories. When did you decide that music was something that you'd like to either do, perform, teach? When I was in
kindergarten.
Oh, real cool. Early age you knew, so you didn't have any doubts. And
was that the teacher had the radio on, and there was some lady singing, probably it was opera, and I imitated her, and some little boy said, she thinks she can sing. And I thought to myself, do I think I can sing? And I put the idea in my mind.
Right.
So went from there.
And what was the answer that you got when you questioned yourself?
Well, I worked at it for years. I had my doubts about my own ability.
Okay.
I didn't get a lot of support necessarily.
What
and
did
I
you
started
use to
taking
overcome
voice.
What did you use to overcome those doubts? What kept you going when you had those doubts that we and we all have doubts? Did you?
Well, it's the push-pull thing. You may have doubts, but at the same time, you have this thing that is just pulling at you or pushing at you and saying, music, music, music.
Ah, good. And tell me some of your experience doing music over the years before you went into teaching. Anybody that you opened for or performed with?
Well, one time, let me see. I have to think about the order and what I want to tell you. One day I hookied high school to go hear Roy Hamilton. And as I was waiting outside the club, I saw this very tall, very beautiful, brown-skinned lady. She had on a mink stole, and she had a flower in her hair, and she was holding a little dog. I think it was a Chihuahua. And she had on a lot of makeup and looked very glamorous. And I wondered who she was. I thought she looked like a movie star. And then we went in the club, and the music started. And then at the break, at the end of the set, I saw that she went into the little sidebar where the drinks were cheaper. So I followed. And the bartender took her stole, and the dog ran up and down the bar knocking over people's drinks. No one seemed to be complaining. And the bartender brought her a drink without even asking what she wanted. And I was extremely impressed and wondered, how did he know what to bring her? Well, it was Billye Holiday. And then later I actually got to meet her, and I shook her hand and all this. And then at a later date, we both sang at the same event. So I can actually say I sang on the same stage as Billye Holiday. So that was one of the neat things.
Not many can say that. I can't even say that I sung along to her records in tune, let alone sang and was paid to perform with her on stage. That's very, very cool, Ann.
Well, I wasn't actually with her we weren't doing a duet.
No, I understand, but on the same show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
And I used to see her quite a lot because she would be dashing up Broad Street to get to a gig. She would always be late, Yeah.
Where did you grow up in New York?
Pardon me?
What part of New York did you grow up in?
Well, actually, I didn't. I left New York at a young age. Spent a couple of growing up years in Camden, New Jersey. And then grew up in
basically.
Yeah.
Yes. So you were close enough to New York to say you were at least in the tri-state area, and
well, the people in Philadelphia would say, "What's that funny accent?" And the people in New York.
If the people in Philly don't have an accent, they have a very distinctive accent. A lot of my camp friends kidded to me camp while we're advertising past summer camp experiences up in the Poconos, Dingman's Ferry, where the artesian well pumped the best tasting water in the entire world. And I'll say that without having tasted all of the water. Just that I still, in my mind's eye, can taste the water up there. But my friends were from Philly, and they certainly had a very distinctive accent, which was totally different than New York. So you were kind of halfway between.
That's right. So the longer I lived in Philly, the more my relatives in New York would say, "Oh, you talk so funny now."
Well, you know what? Philadelphia has a hell of a music scene in their history. A lot of folks came out of there.
Well, when I went to high school, McCoy Tyner was in my class in music and choir, and he used to play the piano for choir practice. And then I got permission to use the piano up on the fourth floor where nobody went up there, I guess. And McCoy came up to play. We wanted to go over some music, and they immediately came up and put a stop to it. The idea of a young Caucasian woman and a young man of color being alone together making music was just too much.
Yeah, Philadelphia is almost a border state. I mean, in terms of the South is everywhere in this country. You just got to get out of the main cities. You got to get out of San Francisco, and you got to get out of New York, and you'll find plenty of that crap going on. That's what makes America spelled with a K in my eyes. But I just tell it as I see it, and that doesn't mean that it is by any means accurate, but I think it is. And I push the button, so I get to say what the fuck I want and have whatever guests I please. That's where my real skill comes in, is that I produce guests that are interesting with it, and a lot of times they have something else going for them, as you do. And you're a big proponent of marijuana. I was telling my buddy Scott that I'm going to have a guest on that did a photo shoot that is about as cool as anything that I've ever. I saw the picture, by the way, over at I
only saw one picture, and there's probably more than I know.
Oh,
because they all came out of Harborside, where they just asked if anyone wanted to volunteer to take part in this project, which was to be called Medicine, and that this photographer was taking pictures of people. And so I said, sure. So I signed up for it. I had to sign a waiver that I wouldn't ask for any money, which is a darn shame, because I believe the photographer has made a lot of money, probably. And I don't begrudge her. She's talented, very talented.
Terrific. Tell me about the picture. You're at the piano.
Yeah, that's one of them. Then another one is of me in profile with my head tilted upward, smoking a joint.
Right, and the smoke is billowing up.
And then let me see. And
you have the most contented look on your face because it's a medicine. It is an herb, and it should not be construed as a drug in any way. It is, in most states, prescribed medically. Now, some states really put you through. You got to have MS to get a prescription, that kind of thing. California's a little more. All you have to do is go in there and drool a little bit, and they'll write your prescription right away. They don't even ask any questions. But so it's different, and soon it will be legal. Or at the very least, I didn't ever want it to come to clubs or anything. I wanted it simply decriminalized and let the growers who, for years and years, and the small-time dealers, you might include me over the years at one time or another, who in essence put their freedom at risk to supply their friends with a little buzz.
Right. Well, my attitude has always been that such people were heroes. And
absolutely.
Dennis was the one who gave me my first card when he had his club down on Market Street. And that was before there was any legalization to speak of,
Right.
Yeah.
It was in their head more. It was in their head more than anything. Come get us. We're going to throw out some stuff, and it's going to help people, and we're going to make it a grassroots campaign. and pretty soon it was overwhelmingly passed in California. And then as recently as 2 years ago, the Fed started to mess with one of the major clubs in Oakland, in Oaksterdam, the one with the museum and all that, and they put them through some hell. So it goes back and forth, but I think the tide has turned, and I think very shortly it will be legalized. And one of the reason I like having someone on who is a proponent, a user, who enjoys the hell out of it, is I like not just someone that does those things, but someone who's accomplishing in their lifetime, who has a passion for what they do. And that leads me to ask you about when you got into teaching and whether or not, as a music teacher, as a voice coach, if I sung just a few notes to you, you could say, Ralph, Zig, I think there's no hope for you, and you could put me out of my misery. Or because I've been Johnny One Note, maybe you could say, you got something there. There's something really rough and raw. So, hello, hello, I like your style. Hello, hello, can we talk a while? All right, now that was it. I just got to know, you wouldn't take money from me. You would say,
yes, I would.
Yeah. Would you say, yeah, you take the money, of course. But
I would teach you. You would learn.
You could teach.
The thing that it takes is wanting to learn to sing. If you really want to learn to sing, you can learn to sing. Now, what you did just then wasn't bad at all, but there wasn't enough air behind it. So I teach people things all about techniques of how to fill with air, and I have exercises to help you take in more and more air.
I'm good at that. I can take in oxygen. I could take in puffs. I could, hello.
No, you just sounded like you were taking a good toke on a just then, not like you were taking
I have very, and as you've no doubt been told by the sisters, I have very few talents. That's one of them. I could load a bong, I could poke it just right so the air goes through, and I could go like this high. Did I tell you the one time I wanted to go to Marijuana's Anonymous, Ann?
Really? I didn't know there was
such a God. Well, I'll tell you,
Anonymous.
I looked and I was so high I ended up at Marathoners Anonymous. It's a 12,000-step program. I'm still chasing those bastards for a light. I'm running. I'm in shape. I haven't stopped, but I'm in good shape. So, anyway, I won't soon be going to any meetings with that 12th step. I don't think I could take that 12th step looking down at
No, I hear you.
Smoking, you boy. Stop, you stupid bastard. Is that the word from, that's how I picture the word from God. You stupid bastard. If you smoke one more toke, I'm going to smite you. I will take your firstborn and split him in half and let you and Diane decide who gets who. Huh? There you go. And that's the Bible, ladies and gentlemen, all wrapped up. That's the, what is it, the comic book version of the Bible, the classic comic book. I'll smite you, I'll kill you, I'll make it worse. And then you'll come to me with love.
Smite.
Smite, right? Is that the word, the key word, smite? Hate.
Word. That's M-I-T-E.
Yeah. All right. So, Ann, how could you, what you just said really summed it up. If you could help me, you're like, you could put your hand on me. I was expecting a faith healer to have to help me with singing. Where can you be reached? If there's somebody with a voice like mine that may benefit from, had I known that I had this voice, I could have developed it, and then I could have been a contender. A contender. So how did you lose your New York accent? How did you lose yours? And I'll tell you how I lost mine.
I didn't know. I don't know. I didn't make an attempt to lose my accent or whatever, really. I guess so. At times, I speak very proper. I try to speak very clearly and distinctly.
Right. Absolutely, and you come over as a learned, communicative individual. Tell me a marijuana story. Tell me a good pot story in your life.
Oh, dear. No,
funny
gosh. Well, there was the time that I was living in San Francisco, south of Market.
Right.
And my landlady sent this man over to fix something in my apartment. He spied the tall marijuana bush that I had growing. And he didn't say anything, but he tried to come on to me, and I rebuffed him. And later that night, there was a knock on the door. And guess what? It was the police.
No shit.
Yeah, and I had someone visiting me at the time, and we were just sitting talking, and as soon as this person heard that it was the police at the door, he ran out the back door and jumped out over the fence and was gone. And these cops came in, and I didn't know from nothing. And they looked around, they said, "It sure looks clean around here." And I said, "Well, I was doing housework all day long." What the hell they were talking about.
Right, yeah. You didn't give in. You didn't give in.
So what had happened, and they found my plant, and they...
Oh, they did find it, huh?
Well, yeah, and they took it, and they took my address book, and my friends were freaked out for years behind that, thinking that, you know, somebody would call them or what have you. And it messed me up because there were numbers in there that I needed. You know, this was before the Internet that this happened.
Sure.
One of those cops was an infamous cop that had thrown people down flights of stairs when they were high on acid and all kind of stuff. I don't recall his name.
Why does that make him out of the ordinary? Never mind.
Oh.
There's a lot of that going on in this country. This has turned into such a police state nationwide. But go ahead. Oh, he happened to have been known for that. So that wasn't a particularly happy. Do you have a particularly happy with marijuana?
To do with Mary Giuani.
Yeah. Mary Jane. I call it J. Mary Giuani. I like that. I'll use that sometime. I use everything, of course.
Yes.
Not everyone, everything.
Well, did you know?
Joking more, sir. Yes.
You know where the word reefer comes from?
No. If I knew, I forgot.
Well, because I watch all the programs that they put out, most of them anyway, about marijuana, because sometimes I can learn something I didn't know. Reefer comes from refrigerated barge, because there used to be a barge that went up and down the Mississippi, and it had reefer in it that they sold, and I guess it was refrigerated. So that's what it comes from. And that's something I never knew that before. I wondered about it.
I never knew that, and I do consider myself enlightened, and we have an enlightened audience. And how can you be reached, Ann?
Oh, let me see. Well, my number is 510-735-9899.
Okay.
And if people are interested in singing,
repeat it.
Because
some people are going, I don't even know how to back this up, and they didn't get it all, and they're looking for a pen, and they're hearing this in the car, on their computer, or whatever. Repeat it one more time. It's important.
Oh, sure. 510-735-9899. And the first time people come to meet with me, it doesn't cost them anything, you know. Okay. I like them to come and find out all about the lesson, find out about them, and so forth.
Okay, beautiful. And you're a delight. I enjoy chatting with you, getting to know you, and
getting to know you.
Yes, getting to know all about you. See, we grew up in New York. Tremendous advantage having Broadway right there, having
that's right.
people that get started, Barbara Streisand, Carole King, just it's a wonderful place to grow up and a wonderful place to be from. I know I was happy not living my entire life there. I left to go in the Air Force when I was 20.
Mm-hmm.
For a long time, my family moved to Florida. I went back to see that Florida from time to time, but couldn't leave California. And although I've had my moments of wanting to be bi-coastal,
mm-hmm.
It would be great. It would probably be Florida in the wintertime, and maybe New York in the spring and California the rest of the time. But I don't have the wherewithal to buy a subway token for Christ.
I was just thinking about that as you were speaking. I said, oh, that sounds like a rich person's thing.
Oh, yeah, a rich person's thing would be great. I take a bus when I go back there on Greyhound and fall asleep drooling on the bus. That's a rich person going back with class. New York, New York. If you can make it there, but you can't even make it in California, you got to go back to New York. Anyway, I love talking with you. You're very comfortable, and I hope you had a good time.
Oh, yes, it was fun. Okay, well.
Anything you want to add? Anything you want to say to the audience that they don't know about you, that you want to reveal, or that?
Well, okay, I'll tell you some little. I'll tell you, I'm going to take part in the neighborhood open mic, and that's going to be a week from today on the 16th at a place called the Book Zoo, right off of Piedmont Avenue in Oakland.
Oh,
and
cool.
It's from 7 to 9, and anybody that would like to come and perform, tell a joke, tell a story, play an instrument, do a little dance, sing a little song.
Yeah, that would be a joke for me. If I could combine the two, I could sing a song, and that would be a joke.
No, I haven't been working on my singing for a little bit, and so that's really why I'm doing it. And I'd love for people
get to work out the vocal cords.
Doing some original material.
Is there anything you do in preparation for that, voice-wise, to build over the couple of weeks before the gig, or do you?
Just a lot of singing. Just singing, working on my material, and doing it over and over.
And do you do that as the spirit moves you, or do you do that at a predestined? In other words, you make an appointment with yourself. I'm going to do that between 9 and 11 in the morning, or whatever. Or
when I make an appointment with myself, I'm usually not too good with keeping it. Other things come up and get in the way. But I say, here's
sometimes. Life and fun gets in the way of work, and if you always keep it that way, that'd be nice. Well, remember that. Life and fun can get in the way of work, boy, and isn't it good that it does? Hey, I'm going to end the segment. Go ahead.
That's all. Work is supposed to be fun. So
Absolutely.
I have fun when I'm working, whether it's teaching or performing or writing songs.
That's the key to it all, because we only have one trip around the track. And
I don't know about that, but that's a whole other discussion.
Okay. For somewhere else. I mean, yes, of course, but and I'm sure I've had that discussion many times, and some self-doubts about a basic non-belief system that runs rampant through my head. With that said, I'm going to implore you, Anne, because you're so sweet and nice, and my listening audience, we don't know about them for sure, but we know that they've made it through this far. They're going to hear the ending of the show, which I implore people to keep your humor dry and your dreams wet. Keep your kids and grandchildren out of recruiting stations, military recruiting stations. It will fuck up your life. It will fuck up the family. It'll fuck up everything. Keep them away. And kids, and keep your kids off the laps of clerics that wear dresses. Just to be on the safe side. just to be on the safe side, Ann, one apple doesn't ruin the whole bunch, but as I often say, 380,000 of those apples, that ruins the entire bunch. And it's been in all the papers, and there's a whole bunch of people who go, oh, what does it mean? And take the kid there and just leave him unsupervised. Don't do that. That's just from me. I'm an old man. I read the paper. And keep on keeping on. Loved having you.
Keep on keeping on.
Keep on, and in your case, dear, happy trails.
Okay. So long for now, then.
So long, shalom, and adios, amigas and amigos. Adios.
Okay. Bye-bye.